never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Welcome back to Neff Inspiration, a show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Today is a fantastic day for an interview as well as for me to grow because I've got Denise G Lee with me. Denise is a leadership coach who is an amazing woman who has, like me, gone through some rather dark times in her past, but she has made it her mission to figure out how you can learn from those dark moments, how you can grow, how you can be a stronger version of yourself, which of course is so important when we are out there and just turning up in our daily life, even more so if you're a leader. And we all are leaders. We are leaders within our family. We are leaders within small groups. You might be the leader and CEO of a big company. That's cool. But we all have leadership duties. And often enough, we are driven by subconscious programs and weird stuff that is laid down in our early childhood or even intergenerational, etc. But there's so much we can do about it. And Denise is today here to actually open my eyes and turn me into a better human. And I can't wait for that. Denise, thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you so much, Stephan, for having me. I know we're going to have a really fun conversation.
Indeed. And indeed, I'm laughing because we already had 20 minutes of dealing with problems here with our podcast. And that is just life, isn't it? But here we are, the two of us. Other people would have been befuddled. A previous version of myself would have been angry with myself. Oh my God, it's all going to pear-shaped. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. That's catastrophizing. And those kind of programs that are running in our heads, they are just so not very helpful, are they? My goodness. But we both have gone through hard times. What I'm intrigued about is you have gone through a lot. Where did you get that strength from to keep going at times when life was really hard?
I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Oh.
I just had to say this joke before I answer your question that, you're an anesthesiologist, you anesthetize yourself from all the pain that was inside of you. And I totally relate because I was numbing myself for all the things that I was meant to experience and feel as a human being.
Yep.
So all of us who have been going through trials and tribulation had to numb ourselves in order to feel alive. So when you said, how did I get through it? I just allowed myself the permission to feel what I always felt to begin with.
Nice. That's your version now. But that was not the version in the past, was it?
Well, the version that liked drinking, drugging, sexing didn't like that. Yeah.
I know that version. How long did that version last?
Well, it lasted to the point where I realized that having strange men come to my house at 2 a.m. was a bad idea.
Touche.
Okay, here's the thing. Everybody has their bottom, right? Your bottom and your journey and your recovery journey is not the same as my bottom and anybody else who's listening, watching, viewing, streaming, whatever you guys are doing in 24th century America, UK, wherever you guys are, in New Zealand, wherever. The point I'm trying to make is that regardless of what you experience, what you do know, there comes a point where I can't afford this. Either my wallet, my friends, my business, right? No one's financing my endeavors, my haphazard endeavors, let's just say it that way. Everybody's experience on when it looks like I need to turn the ship around looks differently. So my question is for everybody, I don't know your bottom. Your bottom is different from my bottom. My bottom came when I had more than one life-threatening experience due to consumptions of alcohol, my sex addiction. Everybody's different.
Hmm. But what can you say? You're quite right. We all are different. And first of all, most of us, for a big part of our journey, we are in big denial. 95% of people who are drinking dangerously, they would say, me, alcoholic? Nah, John over there, look at him. No, he's an alcoholic. But there are certain telltales that maybe we are in trouble. These telltales, what can we actually pick up on? I mean, I nowadays probably can read a person from a mile away, and I'm pretty accurate with regards to addictions, and for example, or mental health problems. The reality is 1 in 3 of people are addicted, chemically addicted, and 1 in 3 have got a lifetime chance of depression. Do you feel that nowadays we actually get a better understanding of this problem? Or are we still hiding? Or are we still going through, oh no, no, there's nothing wrong in our society?
So I think it was mid nine 1995, mid 90s. For I'm sorry, I'm not talking about the 1800s for you Gen Z guys who are listening. We're not the horse and buggy days. I'm talking about during that time frame. Kaiser Permanente, the insurance company, and the Centers for Disease Control here in the United States teamed together and made the study called the ACE studies, Adverse Childhood Experiences. They interviewed about what 10,000 people.
Mm,
Then they try to debunk and say, oh, it was just only mostly middle class white people. What do they know about everybody else? Like, but anyway, the point is they asked a series about 10 questions and they said, hey,
mm,
what did you experience growing up? Were you able to be touched, loved? Did you feel did any scary things happen? And then they said there was a high correlation from the people who had more adverse childhood experiences, are highly linked to be more predisposed to substance abuse, depression, just to name a few stuff. So
mm,
to answer your question about like what are signs? Well, first and foremost, how were you raised?
mm,
How were you raised? I was reading a book. I'm glad my mom died by Jeanette McCurdy. She was famous Nickelodeon star in the beginning of her recovery from bulimia, food addiction. She said, at first, I thought my family was normal, but she minimized the fact that her mother was a hoarder. Her mother sexually abused her, did her pap smears from 0 to 18 years old. The fact that she didn't come to find out even an adult that wasn't even her father raising her, that
mm.
there was a lot of a manipulation to have her as a star in order for her to finance her mother's bizarre behaviors, just to say a few things. So when I say how was your family,
Mm.
I don't want you to talk to me about the very beautiful glossed up version that you would like your parents would like you to repeat out in public. I'm asking you, how did you show up and feel about what happened to you?
And
Just as a starter.
oh, absolutely. And I think that's a really good point. We even if you did not have the most horrendous childhood where you were a sex slave or God knows what bad things could have happened to a child, even if it is sort of okay, quotation mark, it fundamentally uh, starts off a journey of patterns. It creates patterns of behavior, attachment styles, and flow on effects that are lasting throughout your whole lifetime. And many of us never get the opportunity to really explore that and figure out why we behave in a certain way, why we get triggered by a certain person, etc. So the ACEs are definitely a very good starting points. When I thought I had a normal childhood without too much trauma until in my teenage years. And then when I actually did that, and I thought, actually, there was a form of abandonment and not necessarily something negative, not blaming my parents, but simply the fact that I've got a single mom who needed to bring money in, and I was being brought up by my great grandmother. Well, this was there was a lack of attachment there, and a lack of safety, security that now flow on. And that is just quotation mark normal life. But it had certainly big influences on my relationships. So great point there. And then, of course, it is so much easier when you never have a role model to actually then get exposed to things that momentarily relieve the pain. So in other words, when did you first discover alcohol, for example? How early was that for you?
Oh, oh gosh. Oh gosh. I mean, I was sipping nibs of Guinness at 12. But if I may before I go into that bleep show of how that began, you made me think about, you mentioned financial trauma growing up in a single parenthood,
Mm,
another not having two parent figures, not necessarily mom and dad, could be two moms, two dads, I don't care.
mm,
We live in a modern world anyway, but two at least two caregivers, full-time caregivers, having a soccer mom or sorry, tiger mom or a tiger dad who's demanding, who only doles out praise only when you do certain things. Another soft form of trauma is your incest, emotional incest, where one parent tells you, "Do you know what your mom did today? You wouldn't believe your dad doesn't comfort me sexually." Just telling you just wildly inappropriate things. That's another form of soft trauma. I mean, everyone thinks literally the big traumas are I was hit, I was smacked around, I was, that kind of stuff. But neglect, not being able to be comforted in
mm,
moments of stressful situations, being overextended. Now in this day and age, we're telling kids that they need to get good grades, have academics, have good extracurricular activities, do all this, have them work like a workhorse. Literally, they're working 70 hours a week, and they're
mm,
not, they don't even have a driver's license. They're
mhm.
working the equivalent of a CEO, and they don't even have a driver's license. That's
Interesting.
another form of soft trauma. So I just wanted people to understand that soft trauma comes in a lot of different shapes, and it's not just verbal, sexual, physical abuse. But going back to my story, I mean, the alcohol wasn't really abuse. It was more a adaptation to what I saw around me. I saw my mother routinely drink herself to sleep.
Mm,
I saw everyone around me just kick a few beers at the end of the night. Doesn't everybody?
mm, mm. Well, it was a very normalized kind of upbringing. And indeed, I grew up in the 60s, well, born 60s, 70s, 80s in Germany, and alcohol was ubiquitous. It was everywhere, and it was normal. So you would, if there was a building site, you would bring them a crate of beer. Here, that's your lunch kind of thing. And it's just so bizarre when you think of that these perceptions, these normalizations of essentially a rather addictive substance. Thank you very much. Um, so it was normalized, and that's fine. But there's one thing of growing up secure, and just yeah, alcohol is there, you zip, and then that's it. Versus growing up very insecure, never knowing what is happening, and then feeling that relief of alcohol that is pulsing through your arteries the first time in your life. And can you remember that? Can you remember the first time where there was a real positive effect of alcohol or of another drug? Did you get a dopamine rush that forever was linked into your memory?
It was really, to be honest with you, it was really tobacco that
Right.
started me to alcohol. It was
Wow.
tobacco. I lived, it was the time frame that I was living with my dad and then his then girlfriend at the time, Sandra, and she would smoke 4 packs a day and 4 packs, 4 packs a day. I thought that was normal. And I would sit there and I would get the secondhand smoking, and I got the high from that, feeling cool and relaxed from that. And I wanted that feeling to linger on and on. And I realized
Wow.
that if I chased it with alcohol, that was the way that I could sustain that relaxed, depressed feeling a little bit longer. Because here's the thing, addicts, we're taking depressants. Like alcohol is depressant, right? Even though you're seeing these like stuff on TV, everyone's jumping through the windows, throwing stuff at windows, screaming, acting a fool. But the reality is depressant. And why do we need to depress? It's because our nervous system is overreacting because we never learned how to process it in a safe and calm way. So I just wanted to calm down everything that was running, raging high in my body all day long because I didn't feel safe within myself and with the people around me.
Beautiful. Exactly right. Absolutely. Actually, just switch off. And that is, of course, in the environment if you're currently living in it. But it could also be the recurrent intrusive thoughts, the PTSD symptoms, or complex PTSD symptoms that then come later. Even if now your environment has changed a little bit and it's a bit more safer, the same patterns are still laid down, the same responses are there, and you're still trying to calm things down because you got the same response to an unstable environment. Now you've got the same response to an email that is coming in or a phone call that is coming in. So often enough, these are the patterns that permeate through your life, and also you're found newly, or how should I say that, the peace, the permanent help that you achieved and received from the alcohol or the drugs, you want to keep that going. You will use the same things. Was that the same for you? How long
No,
did you rely on those kind of help?
I I I want everyone to think that I woke up one day and realized that I wanted to turn my life around. But the fact of the matter is, it took the fact knowing that I was pregnant with my son and the fact that I didn't want him to have like fetal alcohol syndrome. That was my bottom for me. Absolutely. But I can I rewind a little bit and talk about Germany and Eastern Europe for a
Mhm.
second. I've been
Mhm.
and Western Europe. I've been to Germany. I've been to Berlin. I've been to Hungary. I have talked with people who are second generation from World War II.
Mhm.
And that pain is generational.
Mhm.
You and the drinking is just normalized because of all that pain from
Mhm.
all that economic trauma,
Mhm.
all that pain from what happens from soldiers and that never got help and then just dealing with their families. And I didn't really quite understood it until I was boots on the ground. And like, yeah, my grandmother would just drink and pass out, and we would just have to like wipe her down and get her up. And I mean, it was just as an example, like as one family example, it was so normalized because no one got the healing. So just got pain got passed on from generation to generation to generation. You see that in countries like Poland, for example, to
Mhm.
Estonia. So it's not just limited to America or New Zealand or Australia. It's
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
I think about people, and I just want to say this one thing real quick, and we're going to get back into alcoholism. I don't want to digress, but I think about when people say, for example, racism. I remember someone said, white people don't experience racism, and I'm like, you've never heard of Bosnian ethnic cleansing? Like you haven't heard about like I think everyone needs to understand that
Yes.
trauma happens
Yes. Yes.
everywhere in different kind of forms.
Thank you. My goodness. Thank you. Were there never truer words spoken? I could not agree more. But that is a particularly strange thing that we see, this divisiveness that we see right now in the United States. You're so right. Trauma is there. And the question, of course, is yes, we want to escape it. And yes, the Eastern European drinking and the basically installments in suicide in installments that is occurring there on a constant daily level is just brutal. But we don't need to go too far back to the United States or to New Zealand, where we see similar behavioral patterns. Although there were maybe no genocides in the classic sense, when you actually start digging, there is intergenerational trauma. So here we are. We've got intergenerational trauma. You've got your personal trauma in childhood at an early stage. Bloody hell. The chances are stacked against you. So I accept we all fall prey to our emotions. We want to run away from them. How can we change that? Because here you were pregnant, and there was suddenly a huge challenge. Okay, you have to throw the toys out of the cot. You can't get plastered on vodka and whatever. Your behavior has to change dramatically. But how do you deal with your emotions that are suddenly there, unfiltered, raw? How did you do that?
It's hilarious because I was a member of a 12-step recovery, different 12-step recovery, Sexaholics Anonymous. And I knew that at the time I married my loving husband was also my beautiful codependent, enmeshed husband with me, who thought that with his love and affection, he could erase away any desires of drinking. God bless his soul. And I said, hey, look, I need to be going to AA meetings because I don't want your baby to be born brain damaged. And so, because I needed to go to AA meetings, and I'm not a spokesperson to AA, I just want to let everybody know that. And I'm not prophesizing and you guys find healing wherever avenue you need to. But I needed to be around like-minded people who let me understand how to diffuse my rightful feelings about how I interpret things. Because, when you're getting sober, it feels like everyone's coming to get you. And I needed a place where someone helped me diminish my paranoid, anxious, suspicious nature while understanding that if I wanted to live a long life with this baby in me, things had to change.
So, how did you do that? How did you go about that?
It's just literally what they say, keep coming back. And the program I went to was working the steps. And when I mean working the steps, there's 12 steps. And first admitting, number one, that I had a problem and I was powerless over it. For those of you guys can listen, you can learn more about on aa.org. I'm not going to sit here and repeat everything, all the talking points of AA, but I will say that for me, it was constant surrendering, admitting that I couldn't do it on myself, being open to the fact that my feelings were real and they were tied to events that I could neither understand nor control, forgiveness for myself and other people, recognizing the places where I can make amends, continue to make a conscious contact to God of my own understanding, and continuing the fellowship of other people like yourself, Stephan, and having these open and honest conversations. It's not a formula. It's a lifestyle. We're so used to in this society formulas, 12 steps, do this, do that, check, add to cart. It's about changing everything, including the way you want to live, because the way you're living clearly isn't working, at least in my case. And I think every problem was God knocking on the door saying, hey, Denise, something's wrong. Hey, Denise, you're waking up plaster, something's wrong. Hey, Denise, this client doesn't want to work with you, something's wrong. And after so many knocks around, I woke up. And I think, everyone in recovery can admit they're very hard-headed, opinionated people who think they know it all.
Interesting. And you raised the topic of formulas, and I know exactly where you're going with that. But some people out there think formulas. What is she on about? This is not a math lesson, is it? But there are so many misconceptions out there, and there are so many weird things happening that try to conform us into a certain behavior. Give me some examples of that.
Well, I love the fact that in recovery, I shouldn't say myself and some other people I've sponsored and worked with have this thing that they can take that perfectionism energy, AKA control energy, into the recovery program. If I can just be sober every single day, if I can avoid this certain people, and if we don't do it exactly in this way in our magical, like our minds magically transcribe, then we're a failure. And so I want everyone to understand that recovery by design is messy.
Oh,
By design
yes.
is messy. Here's another one: believing that everyone who sees us get sick wants us to get well. Wives, husbands, lovers, co-workers, colleagues, associates. Oh, they saw us all messed up. They will want us calm and rational and just thinking, no, because some of them knew how to handle you more when you were a nervous, anxious wreck. Some of us will file divorce papers the moment we get sober because they'll remove our enabling and our persecuting.
Very true. Very true. Very powerful what you're saying there. And you have to remember that as if we say that 1 in 3 people is chemically addicted, well, we all addicts have more or less the same kind of habits. For example, we surround ourselves with other addicts so that we don't look abnormal. So it's an instinctive behavior. And if you now suddenly step out of that and do no longer use, but actually rather deal with the challenges without numbing yourself or escaping reality, these people will no longer like you or will no longer associate themselves with you. So it's interesting who falls out of your life and who comes into your life when you start working on yourself and when you start becoming a different, a potentially better version of yourself. Also, you begin to realize who is good for you and who is probably maybe toxic for you. So this is the start of a journey. It's a lifestyle because this is not just you not drinking or not having sex with everything that has a heartbeat. No, that is you suddenly stopping and actually thinking, my goodness, okay, who do I want to be? What is this all about? What is the purpose? What's my mission? Uh, these kind of fundamental questions then lead to very different outcomes compared with us trying to get over the last hangover and trying to think of when can I buy the next bottle. How do you move from a place of, okay, I'm sober to, wow, I've got a mission, I've got a purpose. I will leave a legacy. You're moving from victim to thriver over there. But how do you get there? How can we help people?
So it's been my experience. I can't speak for everyone else, but the more that I increase my gratitude, my altitude of my mindset increases. Those things are correlated. There is no way that you can experience blessings or be able to bless other people from a place of lack. And that lack comes undervaluing who you are, what you've been experiencing, how you can share it with others.
Mm.
The reason why a lot of us are starving emotionally, spiritually, is because we never allowed ourselves the permission, again, the permission to feel what we feel.
Mm.
They're God-given. They're here for a purpose, to communicate with ourselves what's going on inside of us so that we can share stories about like your story in getting sober, my story in getting sober. If I'm coming from a place of lack, oh, nobody understands me, no one appreciates me,
Mm.
how am I supposed to share with anybody else? I'm just saying.
Mm. And it's hard because life brings you new challenges constantly. I had to stop recording my show for a little bit because my show is called Neff Inspiration, and here I'm going. I've lost my job. I'm going through a divorce. My children have left my house, and it's just basically I feel alone. I feel unlovable. I feel all these kind of crap thoughts that come in. So to be an inspiration for others when you barely get the inspiration to continue in your own life, it's a challenge. How do you deal with these moments? Because inevitably, these moments will keep coming. So here we are. When life is good, we are grateful. It's very easy to be grateful when life is actually not so bad. But how can you be grateful when you are really deep in the dumps, when life is really a challenge, as it is right now for so many people? Rightly or wrongly so, the perception is certainly there in the lives of many peoples. How can you foster gratitude when everything is dark around you?
Own your shit. I'm going to be very blunt and I'm going to be really matter of fact because own it. Just own all the suck, own all the things that you thought. I want you to just tell a bit, and I want you to put it in a little box, write every single thing that you hate about yourself, what the other people do, and I want you to make a little makeshift coffin. Then I want you to go outside with a shovel, and I want you to bury that. Own it and bury it. I'm not saying suppress it. I'm not saying deny it. I got a dog. I got a Chihuahua. She's 6 years old. Inevitably, this dog is going to die. Okay. I love this dog. I feed her my own food. Okay. I don't even buy her kibbles and bits. I make my own stuff. But as much as I love her and nurture her, she's going to die. And I know I'm going to grieve, but I know I'm going to make a little coffin for her, and I'm going to bury her. And I think you need to take that same energy towards relationships, towards jobs, towards expectations, and cry all them big, old, ugly tears. Cry them all.
Yeah.
Sit with them. Because here's the thing, when we were in our addiction, we suppressed, denied, evaded, minimized, labeled, excused it away. But now I'm telling you, you have permission to get all ugly and nasty with it and give yourself that freedom and then find ways to move forward. Think about this. I love jams. I love preserves. I love jellies. And the reason why I love it so much is they're fresh from the field. They preserve in this ripeness. It's put in a jar and it's sealed up. Whenever I want to think about the good things, the good flavors, I open that jar up and I spread a little bit on my biscuits or whatever, and I eat it and I jar it right back up. There's always something good, even in the midst of something bad. Have you jarred up the goodness that came from the loss?
It's beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. And the own it is actually such a powerful thing. Start of the year, I did a course myself on radical self-compassion. And I didn't know what to expect, really. So I did it. It was a 6-week course, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. Also, one of the most scary things, because at one stage, one of the exercises was to conjure up an emotion that is not positive. And it was very natural for me that fear came up. And the exercise was to conjure up your worst emotion and really bring it out. And it came out like a tsunami washing over me. And to sit with this emotion for 3 minutes and to experience this emotion, this fear, this raw, awful feeling that is ripping your heart apart, and I hated it. I hate it. And I normally do things to I take action. Which is maybe a bit escaping reality, but here I was forced to sit with that bloody emotion, and then thereafter to nurture myself, to accept myself, to show myself compassion. And that was so scary. But also, once I had succeeded in that, I felt very different. It was suddenly that fear did no longer bring me fear, that negative emotion. I did no longer needed to run away from it as much as I wanted to. So we can actually inoculate ourselves with these emotions by actually spending time with them. And I think that is such a powerful thing. Allow yourself to be you. Allow yourself this emotion. Allow yourself right now to be in this dark place. Accept it and experience it. Just as much as a child falls over, grazes his knees, you can't just wish it away. The child has fallen over, there's blood on its knee. We need to sit with that child and say, yes, it hurts, doesn't it? But we never do that with the inner child in us. We try to I don't know, quickly take something, do something to escape that reality, isn't it?
So within the last, what, 200 years, right? We have quickly gone from agricultural to industrial to information ages within like a short 200 time frame.
Hmm.
And within that, we have prioritized productivity, aka busyness, efficiency, aka dismissing and invalidating, all in the name of getting stuff done. And we have trained 3 generations of people into a false ethos of being that effectively stunts our emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
We used to be able to sit down with our mother and our grandmother, 3 generations in the same community in the same home, and be able to forcefully work through our differences.
Hmm.
Now we just pick up our phone or AKA our electronic prisons and numb ourselves out, right? Instead of learning to deal with uncomfortable conversations. In the name of technology and efficiency, we have created blockades to allowing us to feel the real natural feelings that we have. I was driving, Stephan, I was driving to church the other day. To the right of me, I saw a young couple, had been no older than the mid-20s. I know I feel like a dinosaur as I say that. And and we were all driving, right? But the moment we were at the red light, they both were looking at their phones. There was not even 6 inches separating them. But instead of using that moment at stoplight to connect with them, connect with each other, the driver and the passenger, they chose to connect to a hunk of metal and wires. And then we wonder why our young people don't know how to express themselves other than through emojis. Then we're wondering why we don't feel connected with our emotions because we are so busy with our bedtimes, because our electronic leashes are buzzing all over the place. So I love the hearing about the workshop that you attended to, giving yourself that permission to just feel it, where we have this overwhelming societal brainwashing that tells us to avoid what we're feeling inside of us.
Yet we maybe your generation, my generation, the generations even a bit older people are looking at the youngest generation with disdain. You're talking about the social media addictions, etc. Yet we hear it again and again. Oh, I'm the victim. I am whatever kind of label people put on themselves, let it be either their gender issues or their color issues or their whatever issues. It seems to be rather in vogue to be in touch with your feeling. It seems to be in vogue to be a victim. I'm a little bit mean here, maybe, but is it not maybe a perception that is out there? So should we therefore not extrapolate that actually younger people should be more in touch with their feelings?
Well, here's the thing. We've monetized rage. You're talking about something else. I'm like, we being in touch with your feelings, but using your feelings to get people to go vote go rage,
Yes.
go buy certain stuff, go be a
Yes,
Swiftie, go be
absolutely.
a Trumper or Harris or whoever you're vouching for.
Yeah.
That's something else. I'm talking about mechanized emotional warfare.
Oh, beautiful. I see it as exactly the same way. It is true demagogic. It is true manipulation of the masses. What I see, being a history buff and knowing the Third Reich very well, I see exactly the same way how masses are manipulated and are really led like sheep to the slaughter, for crying out loud, in the United States. But then again, this is not just the United States. As we were earlier saying, that is something that is happening around the world. Populist manipulation, right wing, left wing, call it whatever it is. It becomes more divisive. Exactly. It's just different colors that are being used. So instead of actually us becoming in tune with our feelings, therefore understanding what how feelings come about, what they really are, being able to name them so we can tame them. But instead of doing that, we actually get hyped up, and these feelings are misled into either consumerism. That's probably the most common one. Buy this and you're going to feel so much better. Drink that and you're going to be young again. Put that on your skin and you will look 20. Yeah, exactly. My goodness. So, okay, you are as cynical as I am. Okay, good.
I mean, okay, Stephan. All right, for real, for real. If you want to learn about emotional intelligence, go read the book Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence, and Social Intelligence. If you want to know how the game is being played, read Gustav Le Bon's The Theory, The Study of the Crowd. Read Propaganda by Berners. You'll find out how the game. Read Power by Robert Greene. Okay, there's tons of books that talk about what's happening one by one. I just have to just say this, and I don't really want to be cynical, and I don't want to upset anybody who loves Barack Obama, because I love Barack Obama, even voted for him. I remember after reading Power by Robert Greene, I was like, this guy read this book cover to cover. I I'm just saying.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying. When you understand sociology, crowd psychology, then you'll understand that the things that you're seeing right now is nothing new. It's being Mein Kampf is an excellent book.
Isn't
It's
it?
an excellent book.
Agreed.
Okay. We're not Nazis, okay? I just want everyone else.
I 100% agree with you. Yeah, yeah,
That's
Black Nazi. That's a new one. Okay, that's right.
that's Kanye West. Look, I'm not sitting here and saying that, okay, you read certain things, therefore you believe it. That's not the point I'm trying to make. What I'm
Absolutely.
saying is that the reason why we don't understand how to use our emotions properly is because we've never understood why it was being used negatively.
Mm.
And then once you get to understand the game is how it's played, you choose to opt out.
Mm.
Stephan, I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, are I can send you a Facebook invite or whatever. I said, I don't do that. I can send you a invite. I'm like, I don't do that either. So how do you get in contact? Automation. I got plugins that automatically push stuff out. I don't play the game. Sometimes the best way to win is to never start.
Mm. I think we have got a duty, though. Those people who have gained insights both into themselves as well as into the the history of things, speaking broadly, we need to call things out when we see them being repeated, just under different guise. I think we need to speak out about that. And more importantly, we need to model how we live a life where you actually feel your emotions and maybe also talk about them. Recently, I found myself thinking, well, where's the joy in my life? And then I saw sort of, YouTube shorts, etc., where essentially people made so many more impressions, so many more followers, etc., by bringing joyful things out there. And I thought, yeah, really, I need to do that. But then I thought, actually, no, we need to talk about those things that are not so joyful, because that is the stuff that we try to run away from. That is the try that you want to cover up. And I think it is our duty to speak honestly and raise questions within ourselves, give ourselves time to actually feel and digest it, and then take action one way or the other towards a different future, towards a different modeling of behavior. For example, if we say, well, okay, we know that nutrition is so important, and then we eat shit, that doesn't really work. So actually put your money where your mouth is. So actually go out there and model it. And it might be hard and under your circumstances whatsoever, but actually do that. And by us trying to live a lifestyle of integrity, authenticity, and really vulnerability, gratitude, all those things that are often enough just platitudes in nowadays lives. And when we actually put them daily into action, suddenly things change. Suddenly you become a different human that is more resilient maybe to those forces out there that want us to just consume more, or to vote for one person or the other, or to somehow go onto a demo without actually knowing much what this is really about, and certainly not knowing the history of it. Us being sheep following others just because they're influencers of whatever sort. How do you take action? What actions are the low-hanging fruit that ground you in your daily life?
I'm pausing because I want to make sure that what we're putting on tape is something worth hitting the rewind button and listening to a few times again. I mean, for me, my biggest flex, something I can ever make, is subtraction rather than addition.
Oh,
And let me explain what I mean by that. And I think about it in terms of baking because I, I like gastronomy. I like, cooking and whatnot. And one of the things they always say is that you can always put more into a dish to enhance its flavors, but can you ever really take away this essence once you put it in?
yeah.
Salt, sugar, all that, all those it makes a chemical reaction. It's never the same, even if you try to manipulate it. So if I can actually have the simplest things that can help me stay true to me, that's where I need to be. That's what I need to be doing. And so let me give you an example of what it looks like with my business, for example, right? I have purposely made things in my scheduling apparatus so that I don't have certain appointments more than 1 or 2 times a day.
Hmm.
I know me. I love talking with people, but I can't talk with so much with certain things. It's baked in that things automatically get weeded out.
Hmm.
So I never have to overbook certain appointments, as an example, right?
Okay.
I pre-plan certain things I want to wear. I don't go through my closet and someone like, oh, I gotta wear this and this. What's that? What's that? No. I pre-plan what I want the day before. So I take the drama out and I just wear what I need to wear.
Nice.
And then looking at my life every throughout my week, I look what is working and what can be removed. Because we live in a society that keeps wanting to have you dogpile things to do. Oh, I need to be here. Oh, I need to be doing that. Maybe I should post a little bit more. Maybe no, you don't actually. You don't. Maybe if you put more quality into what you have, it can give you better results.
That is very nice. Subtraction rather than addition. I like that, because it is so easy to be completely overwhelmed. And to a certain degree, I allow myself to do that at times. At times you can't be the creative. At times you can't be that beautiful brain that you love, but you're actually running on 80%. So I give myself permission to do that and maybe to watch some television whilst I actually do some tasks that need to be done, but they are actually quite, it only needs 80% of the brain. And that's something that I accept, as there are days that are not so great. But I find it still difficult to predict what life will be tomorrow and therefore prepare for it in such a way. But then again, you are saying you will have to get dressed, so you might as well tick that off. You might as well know that you have to eat something. So you might as well, instead of getting tomorrow, oh, I'm hungry, what do I cook now? But rather have a meal prep done on a Sunday, and then you're ready to go. So you're taking some of the stress out, which is actually a beautiful thing to do. Do you use lists? Because obviously you're trying to sort of be more strategic. Do you create lists as either to-do lists or other forms of lists?
You mentioned 80% earlier.
Mhm.
Can you repeat what that 80% was? I'm not avoiding what you're saying. I want to
No.
I want to answer it, but
Okay,
you said
okay,
80%.
80% where you feel 80% of your, hey, today I'm 100%. I feel absolutely cool. I feel good. I feel focused, etc. And today I'm sort of a bit in a haze and I'm easily distracted. That's what I call 80%. When you're not switched on, when you're not as sharp as I like myself to be.
Okay. I'm glad that you made 80% because I don't know about you. I have a smartphone device. Everybody has smart. What am I telling you? Like everybody has smart. And one of the things they always talk about, whether or not it's a smartphone or whatever, any kind of electronic gizmo or Tesla, you only want to charge it up to 80%. You never want to overcharge it to 100% because they actually can degrade the battery. So I've been told, right?
Uh-huh.
Can't you take that same energy into who you are? Who is 100% optimal? Can you really work hard all the time? Or can 80% be just enough? Can that margin, that 20% allow for the creativity? Can that 20% allow you for the margins of explorations, even if things aren't going well? I'm sick of people trying to say, I have to have a calendar or a schedule. Let's have an overarching mindset or ideology about how we want to live. I want to live, Stephan, at ease. Ease.
Mm.
And everything I do models around ease. From my calendar to my clothing to my eating to how I organize something. Ease. And ease looks differently for everybody.
Mm.
So I don't want to sit here and tell anyone specific things that I do and get you hyped up and say, well, if Denise does it, it must work for me. Like Denise didn't say that.
No.
So instead of thinking about a specific tool, I want to ask you, what does ease look like for you? For you're at 80%. You're at chill mode. It's working, you're operational, but you're giving yourself permission to be human.
Nice. Well, that's a good thing. It is, I love it. I love it that you step back and allow that bigger view. And we all need to figure out ways forward. I found recently, the last 50 years, I used to-do lists, which were often crammed. And I mean, even Superman on speed would have been unable to do even a quarter of what I put on a to-do list. And then at the end of the day, I thought, nothing done, you're a failure. So I was constantly reassuring myself that I'm a failure. Nowadays, I actually figured that I'm far better off either with a win list where I actually writing down, okay, I just did that, boom, and write it down. I've done that. I've done that. I've done that. I've showed up there, and create win lists. And that's sort of bit the gratitude, fostering the gratitude, and the me strengthening the positive within my life. The other thing I've started doing is anxiety lists. And anxiety lists is that when I feel really ratty, I sit down and quickly write down those things that really at the moment give me a great level of anxiety. And then I immediately deal with them. If there's anything I can do that is less than 2 minutes, I do it there and then. This might be the phone call, this might be whatever it is. But I also then write down, okay, I'm struggling with money. And then I write down, yes, okay, what can you do today? What have I done today? What can you do right now? And there might be points where I have to say, I cannot do anything about that. And just writing that down gives myself permission that I do no longer need to be anxious about that, because it doesn't help me that I'm anxious about that particular topic. I just can't do anything about it. So sometimes it is good to reevaluate how you look at life. So when you say, let's have a look at ease, this is exactly the same thing that I have learned. And when you said earlier gratitude, I'm trying now to sort of see, well, actually, I'm using that quite a bit, the gratitude. I'm happy and grateful that. That's actually another easy exercise to do, especially when you're angry. For me, when I'm angry, and in the past, driving to work, sometimes I felt, and I forced myself loud there in the car. I'm happy and grateful that, and then I forced myself to keep talking, that the sun is shining. I'm happy and grateful that actually right now I've got a nice warm shirt on that is actually keeping me warm right now, and so on. I'm happy and grateful. And these are all little things which you have power to implement. These are all little techniques that allow you to gain a different perspective. I think sometimes that is so important, to actually just gain a different perspective on your life, on what is happening, and is it really as horrible and as bad as you right now think? Is it really as dark, your life, as you maybe wrongly perceive it to be?
So you mentioned wins. You mentioned about understanding, evaluating what was happening, and those are all well and good, right? For sure, for sure. I'm not saying that I don't do it or I wouldn't recommend anybody else doing it. I always hesitate to say that because from when I hear someone tell me something, I'm thinking if I don't do it their way,
I see.
I must be failing, right?
But
For
that is,
me,
yeah.
yeah.
No, that
For
is where we
me, for
need
me, I mean,
that is where we need to experiment, because everyone is different, isn't it? There is no cookie cutter recipe that fits absolutely everyone. And only just because it worked for me, it worked for me now at age 58. It wouldn't have worked for me age 38. So even, is it right for me? You have to say, well, at which point in my lifetime? So there's so much. So I love it what you're saying, Denise. Please keep going.
yeah. So it's on my heart. I just want to say it. I want everybody who is 45 and up to stop clinging to ideals that you, even in your best effort, couldn't hold up. Marriage, job, expectations of certain career. I want you to finally give yourself to permission to release the stress in your jaws and your buttocks and be okay with the fact that it didn't line up the way you were taught by your parents and your teachers and your colleagues that you're supposed to be at a certain age in your life. Gay Sheely wrote a wonderful book, Passages. And she also wrote Passages for Men. And she explained that a lot of people who are reaching their midlife crisis are really not reaching a crisis because they have hit a certain age, but because they failed to meet the expectations what their culture told them to be.
Hmm.
So when we're feeling depressed and we're saying, okay, well, I need to feel grateful, I'll start doing these things. Like, okay, it's another form of people pleasing indirectly. Don't get into that trap.
Yeah.
Don't
Okay.
get into that trap. We're doing something because we are realigning back to how we were neurologically wired since we were born. We cried when we got upset. We smiled when we felt comfort and acknowledgement. We felt cherished when somebody echoed back what we heard. Like our mirror neurons were firing. Like, let's get back to that. I don't care what you do. I love kickboxing. I like hitting things around. I don't need a list to tell me to go feel good about that. I'll just knock at something. That's me. Everybody needs to find what that looks like for you. Stephan, look, folk can go on Google right now and think about self-soothing tactics. That's not the issue. The issue is giving themselves the permission to do things that actually makes them feel good about themselves. That's the real issue. You can't find that on Google or ChatGPT. Are you giving yourself permission? I don't care what vehicle you use. That's not the issue.
Nice. Denise, you have got a great insight there. I love that. I love it how you step back and look at the bigger scheme of things rather than getting tracked or trapped even into the minutiae. And I think there is a lot to be said about that. For that, however, you need to stop. You need to stop and feel. You need to stop and think. You need to stop and do nothing. So I love the 80% that you are referring to. Is it actually not okay that we give ourselves some time and do nothing? Like we would have scored, we would have been upset about the child daydreaming because you're not productive. Yet it is that daydream that is exactly giving you that calm and the parasympathetic nervous system stimulation to actually just take a deep breath, and suddenly your brain comes up with solutions to problems that you might not even know that you had. So we have got a supercomputer out there, but we force it to run so many weird programs and stupid programs, and something that is not necessarily guiding us and getting us forward, isn't it?
I was thinking as you were talking about a conversation I had with a fellow volunteer. Every week I volunteer at a food and clothing pantry, and I'm the youngest of the group. Most of the ladies there are in their 60s, 70s, retirees. And I asked the lady right next to me, I know she's in her early 80s. I said, how's that rushing and trying to go hustle mentality helped you in your life? And she said, it didn't help at all. I don't need to wait till I'm 80 years old to learn that lesson.
Ooh, very nice. And that's where it is so beautiful to get challenged, because you challenged me today quite a lot, because I'm at a moment at a crossroads. I got up this morning, said, okay, I'm going to do that interview. And then I do immediately the post-production. And then I break my day up into 30-minute aliquots, and I will do exactly that. I was going for the 110%. I can do it. I will be the survivor, the winner, and I will show the world how strong I am. It's interesting. Obviously, the universe or God wanted me to hear your message today.
Unless you want to make your rheumatologist rich, that's the only person that benefits from an overactive immune system. You want to make your rheumatologist rich.
Exactly. Here
oncologist too.
Absolutely. Here I am as a functional medicine specialist, being challenged by you. I love it. I absolutely love it. And that is where open conversations like that, where taking time out of your busy day and having meaningful conversations, where suddenly your life changes. So there's a reason that today we two came together to talk. And I think we need to allow this divine or universe intervention to occur. And you can't do that when you're running 110%. You actually need to give yourself the time. So this is a beautiful, beautiful example to prove that what you're saying has a lot of merit. Okay, that what you're saying is actually very, very true. Denise, This was an amazing discussion, amazing back and forth. And for that, I'm very grateful. This was a very uh, raw challenge. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. And I hope many of you out there, listeners, viewers, have been as challenged as me. Because there were a lot of truths were spoken, a lot of different opinions, a lot of different ways of thinking about it. Not one single one is right or wrong. It's just the question is, where are you right now in your life? What challenges are you facing? And is it time to really nose to the grindstone, work hard, etc.? Or is it time to step back? Or is it time to do both? That there are moments in the day when you kick ass, when you do what has to be done. And for example, things like meal prep, for example, getting your clothes out, there are many other little examples that we've mentioned today. But is there also, are there the big slots of time when you give yourself time to feel, time to do nothing and let the universe influence you with regards to thoughts and give you solutions? Often enough, by me forcing myself to stop, suddenly there's the idea that there's an answer to a problem, which I had been thinking hard about the day before. And suddenly, ba-ding, there's the answer. Well, just came out of the blue because I actually stopped and did nothing. And here you are. So I think there are a lot of things to be learned here today. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. Denise G Lee, wow. If people want to know more about you or want to find you or out there in the mess of the internet, where can they go?
I love how you said mess because it really is. So the best place that people can find me is literally find me, DeniseGLee.com. Like I said, I'm all about E. So that's the place where you can learn more about me, learn about my own podcast, Introvert Entrepreneur, which Neff Dr. Neff will be a part of. So excited for that. Let's get it done. And all that, read my articles, all that fun stuff. So that's, if you're interested in joining my weird, wacky journey of being at ease, then come join me, because that's what it's all about. At least I think that.
Beautiful. Guys, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast. Whilst you're down there, press the like and subscribe button. Check out Denise's podcast, and just, you're on a journey. And this journey is guided by some bigger power out there than you and me. And there is a reason that you're going through those trials and tribulations. There is a mission waiting for you. There is a destiny waiting for you. And many of us are struggling with that and are struggling with the challenges. But if you were to go to the pictures, to the cinema, and watch a film, and in the film everything is smooth and everything is going fine, you would be bored after 10 minutes and you think, what the hell? What's going on here? Yet in your own life, you're pissed off that you are facing challenges, that you're being sent on quests, that you have to experience a dark night of the soul. But is that not the hero's journey? Does that also not mean that your journey is still being written with every single day that you're here on this earth? And guess what? This is not someone writing the journey for you, but you have got the pencil. You have got the eraser. You can change the story here and now. And for that, I commend you, and for that, I congratulate you, because you have been listening to us. And that already shows that you are interested in making yourself a different person. And I welcome you to the journey, because we can make this world a better place, but we have to start with ourselves. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Denise G Lee, thank you so much for being part of my mission to make this world a better place, one interview at a time, one impact at a time. Cool. Look after yourself, guys. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.